Hello everybody and welcome to Learn with JGU. In this video, we shall give you some guides on how to answer WAEC oral English questions with ease. Oral English can prove to be very difficult or very easy depending on whether you have some tricks in the bag to face it or not. So we'll in this video discuss what entails in each test and try to devise approaches to answering the questions. The WAEC oral English is made up of 60 questions, and candidates are expected to answer everything within 45 minutes for 60 marks. There is therefore the need to prepare adequately before sitting for such an exam. The most important thing needed in this test is first and foremost your ability to concentrate and trust your guts on the words that are being produced in the exam room. It also means displaying your listening skill set so as to be able to hear very well and answer the questions. There is no room for confusion, so you will need to trust no one but yourself. The 60 questions in the oral English test is divided into 8 categories, that is, 8 tests. The first 5 tests contains questions pertaining to the 3 basic sounds we have, which are the initial sounds, medial sounds, and final sounds. Now, as their name suggests, initial sounds, for instance, are the first sounds in words. So when you pronounce words and you stress the first syllable much more than the others, then you are pronouncing the initial sound of the word. Let's take a look at, for instance, words like goat, garage, gas. We can clearly observe in these words that there is some sort of stress or force in the beginning of these words, which produce their initial sounds. Medial sounds are also present in the first 5 tests. They are sounds produced in the middle of words. Medial sounds mostly contain vowel sounds in a, e, o, u, and can be pronounced long or short, depending on the test. Example: boot, sheep, hot, pot. The emphasis in these words are the middle sounds that we can hear when they are pronounced. In final sounds, we have sounds produced at the end of words. Example: dock, fact, soak, back. You realize in these words that much emphasis is placed on the final sounds, that is, the last syllables of the words. Now, let's get on to the tests and find out what each test contains and how we can answer them. We have test 1. Test 1 of the English oral paper tests candidates' knowledge on vowels. Each question in this test is followed by 3 alternatives for candidates to choose, lettered A to C. The alternatives you see beneath the lettered words A to C are called minimal pairs. Minimal pairs because they contain vowel sounds, which are supposed to be the listener's focus in the exam. It is interesting to note that there are 20 vowel sounds in English language. Now in your test, words similar in pronunciation will be provided for you. These words will be differentiated with one sound, which is a vowel. All your attention should be placed on the middle sounds being pronounced. Example: feet, fit, feet. You can clearly see that these words are similar both in pronunciation and in spelling. The only difference is the sounds produced in the middle of them. On to test 2. So now in test 2, candidates' knowledge are tested on consonants. Alternatives will be provided once again beneath the words lettered A to C. Candidates are required to listen carefully and identify the consonant sounds in this test. You should know that there are 24 consonant sounds in English language. Be confident that you definitely would answer questions on consonants in this section, and so attention must be paid in order to answer them very well. Let's take a look at some examples. Seaton, seething, seeding. Now you realize the only difference in these words I pronounced are the consonant sounds. even though the words in general are similar in terms of sounds. If you were asked to pronounce the word seething, then your answer would be B. Test 3. In Test 3, candidates are tested both on vowel and consonant sounds. There are 4 alternatives provided in this test, lettered A to D. Candidates are supposed to identify among a group of words that may differ in 2 sounds, that is, 1 different vowel and 1 different consonant. Example: weeks, weeds, seeds, seats. If you are asked to identify the word seeds, then your correct answer will be C. Test 4. In Test 4, candidates are going to be tested on the sentences they hear. It's so simple. The only hurdle or obstacle that will prevent you from getting your answers right is your listening skill and the concentration you will maintain throughout the test. Now, similar sentences are going to be provided for you as alternatives, and one alternative would be read for you to choose. To be able to identify the pronounced sentence, candidates should put emphasis on the only different word in the set. This will enable you get your answers correct. Example: it was a cat. It was a cat. It was a cat. You realize that the above sentences are very similar. The differences will only come out when a sentence is read out to you. Your focus should be on listening to the correct pronunciation of words in the sentences and choosing your answers accordingly. If the sentence read out was, "It was a cat," your answer should be C. Test 5. Test 5 examines candidates' abilities to answer questions on rhymes. This test is quite different from the others in terms of how the questions are posed. Now, what happens in this test is that alternatives lettered A to D will be provided, but then none of the words on the question sheet will be pronounced. However, a different word that rhymes with only one of the alternatives provided will be pronounced to you, and you must select the corresponding rhyming word on your question sheet as your answer. Below are some options. I'm going to mention a word outside of these options, and then you will select a word that rhymes with the pronounced word. Scent, belt, set, rent. The pronounced word is bet. Now, among the alternatives given, bet rhymes with the word set, and so your answer will be C. Test 6. Test 6 is all about stress on words. Stress in phonetics refers to the force with which a word is being pronounced. Depending on the emphasis on words in a sentence, you can deduce your answers from the questions. Take note that in this test, only answers to the questions on your paper will be mentioned. It is your responsibility to select the question that relates very well with the read answers and in respect to the stresses. For instance, in the answers, he borrowed my newspaper. If my stress is on the word borrowed, then the correct question associated with this answer will be, did he steal your newspaper? Test 7. This test deals with intonation, that is, the rise and fall of tones in words. Certain meaning can be derived from statements, depending on the tonation, whether it's high or low. Rising tonation is associated with the following: uncertainty, doubt, impoliteness, happiness. Falling tonation, however, is associated with the following: certainty, not being doubtful, politeness, and happiness. So, for instance, when I say, "He came here yesterday," this statement has a rising intonation. It shows that the speaker is uncertain or doubtful about what he or she is saying. On the other hand, if I say, "I came here yesterday," this is a falling intonation. It shows that the speaker is certain about whatever he or she is saying. Another example: I recited 2 long poems. This example shows that the speaker is unhappy. It would have been different if I said, I recited 2 long poems. This statement contains rising intonation and it suggests that the speaker is happy. I don't need it anymore. We realize in this statement that there is a rise in tones. Therefore, it may suggest that the speaker is impolite. However, if I say, I don't need it anymore, the speaker may be perceived as being polite. Note that rising intonation can be used for making polite requests. Only requests. Example, can I borrow your pencil please? Also, the use of first person pronouns like my, I, we, are, you indicate statements of certainty, while second and third person pronouns suggest statements of doubt or uncertainty. Notice the intonation in the following statements. I left without asking for permission. He left without asking for permission. You will realize that the first statement shows no doubt whatsoever, whereas the second indicates doubt.